I think we are live. Yay. Okay, so I'm going to record this just in case as well. And turn the volume off. Okay, so now you see some behind the scenes. Oh, hello. Anna Luisa, how are you? Hola, Melanie, how are you? Okay, so I can only see the screen if I go to the Facebook Live recording, and unfortunately it drives me crazy because it actually, yeah. So is there an echo still? I've turned the volume off on the other one. Drives me crazy because it's actually, there's lag time, so I don't want to have to look at myself and worry about the lag. Okay, so otherwise you can see me and hear me, and then I will not be able to respond too much to your comments until I check them out. My phone, for some reason, decided to die today. Bad timing. Was not expecting that at all. So I'm a little flustered with what to do about it. Let me just see if I can pull up things on my old phone so I can see the comments. So how are you doing? Where are you coming from? What's going on in your world? Okay. Okay. Yay, I can see. Hi, Cass. How are you, lovely? All the way from British Columbia. Okay. And some other people on live. Who else is joining us? So emotional triggers is the topic of today. And I love this conversation because so many of us experience it. And we really, we can control and have power over it. So this is something that if you desire to make some changes, then it can be extremely helpful to you, to your relationships, to who you are being and how you are being, even though a lot of times we're reacting and responding to a situation, circumstance, or to other people. So let's define emotional triggers so we're on the same page first. So it's also called a mental health trigger or a psychological trigger. And they're memories, objects, people that spark intense negative emotions. And this change in emotions can be abrupt, and in most cases it will feel more severe than what the trigger would actually logically call for. So it's interesting how in the same situation, one person can react and respond one way, and the other person will react and respond another way. And a lot of that is because of our filters and our perspectives and our life experience and all the things that we've gone through, all the things that we've had to endure, our childhoods, getting evidence of everything that's gone from when we were born until the day, today's date. And the other thing is that there's generational triggers that we learn patterning from our parents, grandparents, other siblings. There's also some reactions and responses because of gender, because of society. There's lots of things that happen. So there's many common trigger situations. So it could be a traumatic event. as you know. Now I'm actually doing this because we need to become aware of when they can happen. So when they're happening, we're like, oh yeah, Tina said so. And so therefore I have to pay attention to this. So an individual may experience the trauma and it may be triggered by situations, objects, or reminders associated with that traumatic event. And these triggers can lead to emotional distress, anxiety, and even panic attacks. So a lot of people who have gone to war or been in these war-torn countries have these kinds of experiences, or if you had something in your childhood that was extremely traumatic, it can be such a small thing that can trigger you. So there was a lot of people in my awareness that when the Russians invaded the Ukraine, a lot of the older generation went into a trauma state because they were reliving the wars. So again, just being aware, right? So it's once we're aware, then we can make the changes. Phobias. So they can be intense, and phobias are usually not necessarily rational, and a lot of them aren't even real. I remember reading when I was studying with one of the John Assaraf, and he was telling us how this woman had this huge phobia on spiders, arachnophobia. And they actually, when they did the work, the trigger was from a movie that she had watched, but it felt so real and it got locked into her body that she actually had a trigger and a trauma response. So again, it doesn't have to be rational, and it can be anything. Loss of and grief. So sometimes if somebody has died that is a loved one, especially, or there's a breakup, or there's a loss of a job, they can also create emotional triggers. So there was a lot of people triggered through the pandemic. And there were a lot of changes and adaptations that needed to be made. So it was loss of a job, possibly, or not working out of your house, or it was working now in the house and you had to be surrounded by your children and your mate and had to navigate and negotiate that, and you have people in your space that you're not used to if you were already at home, or now you're at home and now you're trying to figure out how to be disciplined, how to get the work done, how to still be mom, how to still be wife, how to be all the things. So a lot of people, their identity shifted a lot during this experience. So there was a lot of changes, and it can be a grief situation because we're grieving the change. We're grieving the old and not necessarily prepared for, or we can cope with the change. And not all of us are capable of adapting as well. So there's also personal beliefs and values when something contradicts or challenges deeply held beliefs and values. It can trigger strong emotional reactions, and this can include political or religious beliefs, moral dilemmas, or conflicts in personal relationships. There's also societal rejection. Humans have a natural need for acceptance and belonging, and experiences of rejection, exclusion, or humiliation can trigger feelings of sadness, shame, or anger. Stress and overwhelm is another one where high levels of stress or high feeling overwhelmed can be emotional for many individuals. These triggers maybe lead to irritability, anxiety, sense of helplessness, someone cutting you off when you're driving and you've had a bad day or you had a bad week or you're in a bad mental state can lead to some of these triggers as well. Relationships. Most people, this is the experience that really triggers us, is other people, whether they're our mates, friends, strangers. We have a tendency to observe what's outside of us, and that observation of what's outside of us is okay. And it's important for us to realize that we shouldn't take things personally. Now, the word shouldn't is a tricky word because we can, and we often do. And we can get to a point where nothing outside of us is going to cause us to change our state, going to cause us to change our mood, it's going to cause us to change who we want to be in the moment or in our everyday lives. So this is a choice, and it is completely in our power, and a lot of us don't realize this. If there's any injustice or unfairness, witnessing or experiencing injustice, discrimination, or unfair treatment can also trigger feelings of anger, frustration, and sadness. And again, it's all completely justified. There's absolutely no judgment around any of this. So when you have an experience, we have to decide, do we want to make a change? So when my ex and I had first separated, there was this automatic reaction to him when he was being loud and aggressive in my face, either name calling or just being belligerent. And I always react and respond by justifying it, try to get him to understand what I'm going through, try to get him to see my side of things, because I always try to see his side of things, and that's being an empath. And so he would just not listen, not pay attention, and not care at the end of the day. And that was his choice. And I just remember going to bed one night and being so overwhelmed with guilt and not liking who I was becoming, because I was reacting and responding to all of his anger and his hate. And so I decided that I was no longer going to do that. Didn't happen overnight, and I'm human, and I had my days where it was less aware than other days, and less that I could actually care. Because it was often, and it was a lot. So some days you just want to give it back, and you just got to be okay with that. You got to forgive yourself, have some compassion, and breathe through it. So when they're coming at you, we can do a few things. There's some coping mechanisms. We can accept our feelings in the moment, that we don't like it, that's disrespectful, and we can make an energetic boundary, in the sense that you're breathing and you're just in your mind, this is not right, there's no need for disrespect, and you just send them love and light. Now again, it sounds easier than I say, and it takes practice. So it's not going to be something that you can do overnight. Trust me, it took me several months to get to that point. There, you can obviously have communication between you, and especially if it's a loved one, but take some time, feel the emotions that you're feeling, and step away for a little bit and really assess why it's triggered you. So I had a situation with Elton when we were trying to think if we were together or not. I think we were together, and we were in Florida, and we had decided that the girls and I were gonna spend $100 in a store between the three of us. And so it was like $33 each. And the store was relatively cheap. I don't know if you guys know Rainbow in the US. And so we were going to buy a bunch of clothes, obviously, because a lot of things were like $5 and $3 and $7 and stuff. And he got into the store and he freaked out. I don't know what happened or what triggered him, but he just got really upset. And he's like, no, you can't spend that kind of money. And we had talked about it. So I was really angry. it really upset me because it's one of my triggers, because my dad did this to me when I was 16, where he had taken me into a store to offer to buy me a pearl something, either earrings, necklace, bracelet, whatever, because 16, I guess, is supposed to be, pearl is supposed to represent the age of 16. I didn't ask him for it. He took it upon himself. And then we left without anything because he said that he couldn't afford it. And then the next year, or that year, later in the Christmas season, he shows me a photo of my cousin and him. It's his goddaughter. And she's got the exact necklace that I was supposed to get, that he declined for me to get because of that. So it really triggered me. And so then when Elton is backing up what we communicated and agreed upon, then it just put me into a bit of a tailspin. And he went into a huge tailspin. Again, I don't know what his trigger was at this point. I didn't really care. And so we were sniping at each other for the rest of the afternoon. And when I told him the story a couple of days later, he understood where I was coming from and my reaction and response, and he didn't do it again. So it's best to communicate these things, because everybody's got a different trigger and experience, and again, perspective and filters and all of that kind of thing. And we can't expect people to totally understand where we're coming from. And if you tell them and then they still do it, you have a choice. But walking away is one of them. We don't have to go to their level. The other thing is take a step back. So you can leave the room, you can close your eyes and breathe. You can, again, come back a couple days later, try to have a reasonable conversation when things aren't heated. It's usually when things are heated that words are said and reactions are felt and feelings are hurt. So it's a choice. It truly is a choice. Being mindful of who you are being in the moment. So I really had to breathe some stages. And I got to a point actually where there was one day he came into the door frame and he started cussing me out. I was in the office, I was working on the computer doing something, and I just took a moment to look at him as if to say, what the hell is your problem? I didn't say it, I'm thinking it. And then I turned back to the computer, because he no longer caused me to have a reaction, because I had decided that he wasn't going to have that power or control over me. I was in a good mood and it wasn't going to affect me. So we've got to get to a point, well, we can get to a point, we don't have to, but if you truly desire freedom from reacting and responding to everybody and everything outside of you, then this is the way to do it. Okay, you can journal about it. There's going to be prompts. There's a worksheet that I found online, and if you desire it, please let me know in the comments, say me, and I will send over that worksheet. It's awesome. So you just want to coach yourself through it. So you're trying to figure out, why did you react in the first place? Where is it coming from? Why? What's the belief? What's the story? What's the past experience that is causing you to be triggered by this? Then once you figure that out, then you're going to tap into your feelings. What feelings did you have? What did it make you feel? Did it make you feel abandoned or rejected, or did it make you feel small, or I hate the word, but people feel stupid, or that they're not capable, if they're not responsible? Whatever the feelings are, we want to address them. And then we want to look at our reaction. Were we okay with how we reacted, or were we not? So this is also something that I went through with raising my two daughters. And at nighttime, there were times where I would feel so guilty and so bad at how I reacted. And a lot of it was, you're tired, you're overworked, you're underappreciated, you just don't feel people are being taken for granted. This is the lifetime of a woman, in my opinion. And they're not responsible for us to feel good about ourselves. This is tricky. So a lot of times we look outside of ourselves to be validated. We look outside of ourselves with the expectation that people are going to make us feel good about ourselves. We're going to help us feel worthy and deserving, and that they're going to help us feel loved. It's got to come from within first. And once it comes from within, it doesn't matter what anybody else says or does or thinks, because you have the attitude that I know who I am, I know what I'm capable of, I know what I want, what I desire, and everything's going to be okay. We don't take things personally as much. There was one customer, she was a guest in one of the apartments, that triggered me like no tomorrow. And I kept saying to a friend online, I don't understand. Why is she triggering me so much? And I was working on getting out of victimhood and seeing things as everything happening to me. And I was also working on feeling worthy. And she was picking on everything that we had created down there. The sheets were not good enough. The towels smelled musty. The island wasn't great, and somehow that was our fault. Like, it was just constant from her, and it was just a projection of energy that she was giving me. So when my friend said, "Is she making you feel not worthy enough?" I was like, oh, that's what it was. And because that's what I was working on, people, places, and circumstances are going to come into your purview, not to test you. I don't like that phrase, but it's like being tested. It's showing you, and if you are healed and actually in the space where you believe that you're worthy, you need to heal more, or you need to learn a lesson. Those are the three things, in my opinion and from my experience, and when I work with my clients, these are the three things that come up often. So ask yourself, where are you? Did this experience have to be a lesson that I needed to learn? Is it something that I have to heal more of, heal at all? Or is it something that's showing me that I'm actually healing, but maybe I have a little bit more to go? I hope that all makes sense. So we want to figure out all these things. And you most certainly want to decide who you want to be when you're walking into a situation. So if you have an experience with family members at holidays, this happens a lot. There are people that trigger you. And again, you're completely justified, and it can change. So the reason why it can change is because, again, we're filling ourselves up. So we don't care what other people think, because we know who we are. We know what we want. We know what we desire, and we feel good about ourselves. So a couple things happen. We raise our vibration, and because our vibration is higher, those kind of people are either not going to be in your purview at all, or it's just going to be like a Teflon. It's just going to bounce off you, and it's going to keep going. It's going to keep going. So it really is very cool how that happens. So this is law of attraction. If you go into an experience, and let's say it's Christmas time, and you go in, and you're normally, what happens as soon as you walk in is your mother's critical of you, your father's questioning your job and your life choices, and your uncle's being an idiot, and he says some sassy thing, and it's just putting you off, and you don't like these situations. Envision what you want it to actually look like, but you have to show up differently. You cannot show up guarded. You cannot show up expecting this to happen. You cannot show up anticipating that it's going to happen with the armor on, and you've got this, oh my, bracing kind of mentality and energy where you're expecting things to go wrong, because law of attraction says it will. Like begets like. So if you spend time envisioning going into the same experience and your mother says something nice to you, again, we want to be careful, because sometimes we are not paying attention to the fact that her tone is different and that she's being different, because we're anticipating the worst. So if she says something nice and we snap at her, and we've totally missed that she said something nice, then who are we being? Right? So we want to be, this is why awareness is so important. We want to get curious. We want to be an observer of all of the things that are going on around us and start seeing the patterns, because there is a lot of them. And we really want to embrace the patterns, because the patterns are the gift. It's an opportunity for you to see what's going on and be able to heal what you need to heal. Oh, hi, Leah, lovely. Okay, awesome. Worksheets. Brian, hi. Renee, hello. Okay, so far, any questions? So we want to, understanding the emotional driver behind the trigger is so powerful. Yeah, 100%. And we just want to be able to realize that there is a choice in the matter. So one of the coaches that I followed, and I actually did an interview in here in this group with her, and you'll forgive me, I can't remember her name, but if you want the interview, it's in the guide sections. I did a bunch of interviews of other coaches in different areas through COVID, and Ellie is her name. So if you want to check that one out, I really highly recommend. And so she said during the interview, she calls it green or red zone. So the green zone is happy, feel good, you're loving life, you're feeling awesome, all the positive high emotions. Then the red zone are the low level emotions. You're angry, bitter, resentful, frustrated, blah, 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 right? And we have a choice. When she said that, I'm like, what? We may not have a choice. We have a choice to react or respond, and how we're going to do it, and who we're going to be in the moment. And so I was like, what do you mean? It's totally, she totally caught me off guard. And that's why I know it's the truth, because it really made me stop and think. So when Elton came in and he comes at me, I can choose who I am. When they were leaving, and he was talking about the car, and the car I haven't driven for well over a year because he was disabling it, so I couldn't use it, and I wanted nothing to do with it. He had ran it into the ground, it needed parts, and I knew that he did that on purpose, because then I would have to pay for the parts in order for it to fix the car, and it's 15, 16 years old, and I didn't want anything to do with it, plus it's his energy. So he said to me, thinking that he's got me, so Tina, just about the car. I said, just park it up in the driveway. And he says, well, I've taken off the insurance, and the license is good for another couple months. I said, just park it up in the driveway. And it's not working completely the way it should, so you might have to take it to a mechanic to just park it up in the driveway. He was so angry. He didn't know what to do with himself, because he didn't get me. He wasn't able to poke me. He wasn't able to affect me. He wasn't able to cause me to change my mood, my behavior, and get the response that he wanted. And he's a narcissist. So if you've got any kind of experience with a narcissist, if you've got a parent that's a narcissist, or a child or a family member anywhere in your path, the biggest way to get them is not to allow them to affect you, period. Because they will not change. They will not change. They're not capable of it unless they get help. And even then, from what I understand, it can be a challenge. So be prepared to take some deep breaths and to really check yourself. Make it a bit of a game. Oh, isn't that curious? I wonder why I reacted or responded that way. Oh, that's interesting. Why would I freak out about that? And why would have that response? So I'll give you an example of filters and perspectives. So I was sitting with a friend in the apartment in Toronto, and we were watching a fashion show program that would come on. I think it was like a Saturday afternoon. It's not very good, but it's nothing else on. So we were just kind of talking over it. But she had eating disorder issues. And most models either have them or they're just really super skinny. So it triggered her to talk about her experience and to talk about things. Now, my filter has never been an issue with food. So I just admire the clothes. I admire the lifestyle. I admire the background. I admire the gifts and the talents they have in order to be on the runway. So totally two different filters. So this is why I'm saying, so when people come at you, it's not necessarily even about you. They're having a really pissy day and they don't know what you know. So Elton, I would just smile at Elton because it's like, I am not responding and reacting to you. So it's a little sadistic, but it's okay. I was allowed. I was taking a lot of crap. So if you want to get there, you can get there. And I can tell you it's going to take some time. It's not going to be an overnight thing unless you're already on this journey of being aware of who you are and who you're being. But it's really important for us to check ourselves. So remember also that others respond to our energy. So if we walk into the room, like I said, and we're waiting for a fight, and we're waiting for a reaction out of somebody or someone to say something or do something that's going to upset us, then someone will upset us because we're looking for it. And if the situation is not something that you desire, then stop being in that situation. You can choose. There was 1 year, Elton and I were just dating, I think a year or two, and I'm not sure if we were married at that point, but my family, it was just crazy. We went over for Christmas. My mom was a nervous bunny the whole time, and I was worried about her and my brothers were drinking and cussing all over the place, which upset her. And I just felt like I was a referee in the whole experience. And then I was worried about Elton and his experience. And I was just like, I'm done, not going to do this again. And we never had another Christmas with them again. So we get to choose. And there might be a little bit of guilt. And it might be challenging for us to do that because maybe even FOMO, fear of missing out on something. Your mental health is worth a lot more. So one of my clients had reached out to me because she had been going to a counselor for over a year. And she was making some changes, but not as much as she wanted. And so she came to me and we worked together for 6 weeks. And it was amazing the transformation that she had, because a lot of it had gotten locked in at an energetic level. And there was one day where a lot of it was to do with work. And she was feeling victimized and not taken for granted and unappreciated and all that kind of stuff. So we worked on her self-love as well as the mindset that was going on. And there was one day it was spilling over into her family life and with her husband. And I asked her if she's translating her husband for her dad. Maybe translation is not the right word, but she was giving her husband the response or the reaction that she would her father, because of the trauma that her father created. So oftentimes we assume that people are coming from the same space. And if they love you, they're not. And if you have them in your life when they're close to you like that, family and friends, then sometimes we expect them to know better, do better, and be better. And you have to communicate what you need and what you want and what's triggering you and why, so they can make the changes. Because if they're good people, they will desire to make the change because they want you happy. Because a happy partner is a better partner. So really take a step back and really look at yourself and who you're being in these situations and circumstances. Are you provoking it? There's some people in your world that are really provoking. And again, it's an opportunity. So yes, they're being provoking. Who do you want to be when they are? It's not about you, it's about them. And they're put in your path for a reason. So why are they in your path? Everybody, every circumstance, every situation that's in your path, you have attracted. This is the biggest lesson for me. If my life is great, it's because I'm in a great space. I'm high vibe, my energy is good, I am being energetically responsible, I'm paying attention. If life is not good, it's because I've dropped the ball somewhere. It's all in reaction and response to us. So this client had also learned how to not react and respond to people outside of her workplace. And so she's feeling much better. And she was able to actually have a good work experience, and she wasn't bringing it home anymore. So this is what can happen for you too. So if you desire to get some help, please message me, because a lot of these things get locked in at the energetic level. And so talking about it, mentally understanding it, emotionally understanding it, it can help. But the energy, it gets locked at the cells, and it can really make a difference when we unlock it and release it and let it go. So that's my insight for that. I'm going to check on the questions within the group, and if you have any questions. So yeah, are you escalating or de-escalating the situation? Completely, Mel. It is a choice. Yeah, and it's a hard lesson, Ana Luisa. It's called emotional intelligence. And we get to choose. Totally allowed to be proud of your growth. Okay, so there are a few questions that were in the group. One was, how can you master your monkey mind and change your and your ego and your habits. So monkey mind is another phrase for mind chatter, the voices that you hear in your head where you're getting all caught up. This is ego based. If it's negative, it's ego based. So you just want to check yourself with whose voice is it? Where is it coming from? Is there a particular situation, circumstance in the past? And how do you reframe it? So this becomes a belief. The belief is a habit of thought that gets repeated, and then there's evidence that shows you that it's true somewhere along the path, but it's not true. If anything is not from love, it's not true. That is the truth. It's not coming from love, it's not the truth. And then the other question is how to clearly show up and stop abandoning yourself. So for me, it was a choice. Do I choose to be there for me? Can I rely on me? Can I back myself up? Or am I looking outside of myself to be validated, to be justified, to be accepted, to be honored, to be appreciated, to be gifted, all of the things. So we really want to, it is an internal game, ladies and gentlemen. So we get to choose what's going on, but we have to heal inside. The inside will reflect the outside. So if your outside is in turmoil right now, there's a reason. Something's going on inside. I did this masterclass in January, healing from the inside out. So if you're interested in that, it's $111. It was 4 days and it was so powerful. And it really, we've got to start looking at ourselves. If all of us, can you imagine a world where all of us focused just on us? We wouldn't care about anything else out there. And it wouldn't be a world of right and wrong, good and bad, and all of that kind of stuff. But we can actually control and have power over us. That's the only thing we can control, and it's the only thing we have power over, is us. Who we are, who we're being, how we're reacting, how we're responding, and at the end of the day, are we allowing ourselves to go into the red zone with them, going down into the depths, getting angry, yelling back at them? Is that helpful? I've never been in an experience where it's been helpful. They don't hear you, you don't hear them, you just get hurt. You hurt them, they hurt you, makes things worse. And then eventually you got to calm down and maybe come back together and communicate. Save yourself that aggravation if you can. It's not worth the energy and the time. It truly is not. Any questions before we end this call? Many times those triggers show you what people you want to invite into your reality and who you do not need. Yes. You get to choose. You don't have to allow everybody and anyone to come into your world. You're amazing. Why would you not want to set the boundaries and allow people to walk all over you and step on you and treat you badly and disrespectful? So there is an energetic boundary. And this was so evident to me. I've been practicing this. And Elton said something to me about being a bad mother. And my energy must have just whoosh. It was like, no way, no how are you going to tell me that that's the case? And he looked at me and he said, don't you hit me. Now, this is a man who's 250 plus pounds, probably close to 3 at the time, 6'2". And I'm 5'2" and 165 pounds. I would not have a chance in hell against him if he chose to hit me. So, but he felt it. He knew as soon as he said it, and he was looking for reaction and response. And I just took a deep breath, and I took a step back, and I was not going to engage him, but he knew not to do it, and not to talk about it anymore, and not to continue the conversation. We get to decide. It's a beautiful place to be. It's so freeing when you can walk around and you can just have a smile on your face. And if someone comes up to you and starts yelling at you, you just kind of look at them and send them love. Hope they have a nice day and things turn around for them. Okay, let me double check before we end this call. No call. Okay, great. No questions. So if you have any questions that do come up for you when you're processing this information, then do put it in the group. I am there for you. I can bring it up on next week's live. So I'm going live every Wednesday at 3 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, 8 p.m. British Summer Time. So if you're interested in having more conversation, we can continue this. We can do like a group call on Zoom if you want, even, and have a discussion so that we can talk specifics when certain situations happen. Now, be aware also, we often justify our behavior when it's negative. Well, he said, she said, he did, she did that. And we got to choose. And we decided to be that person instead of taking a breath and allowing it to trigger us and for us to engage. I'll leave you on that note. So next week, we're talking about intuition. And this is coming up for a lot of people right now. So I really want you to join me if you can. I will have a Q&A thread in the group as always before the lives. And you're welcome to ask any questions that you want about intuition, instincts, gut feelings, whatever it is that you call it. And we can really tap into that. Excited. So I really enjoyed this conversation. I hope you got value out of it. And you're welcome to invite other people into the group if you think that these kind of conversations are something that they would like and desire. And if you're looking to actually heal this part of you, then reach out to me and let's get started so that we can start taking this energetic mess out of you so you can feel lighter, brighter, and more in line with who you're meant to be. Have a blessed day, ladies and gentlemen. Those who join me, thank you very much. And if you're watching the replay, you can interact with the video. Not that I probably should have said it at the beginning. As if you were live, and you can make your comments. So have a blessed day, and we'll talk to you soon. Take care. Bye.